The last line said by my favorite character, Stanley. Those words are etched into my mind. Spiritfarer is a game about teaching the player on how to deal with loss. It makes the player feel cozy, so when something heartbreaking happens, it really hurts. But why? Out of all games, was Spiritfarer the first one to make me cry? And twice at that. Welcome, Web of Wires. We've all felt some sort of loss in our lives, whether it's missing out on a party or someone really close to us passing away. It's a recurring feeling that can be hard to deal with at times, which is why I decided to play Spiritfarer. My goal going in was not only to be stronger when it comes to loss, but to push my limits and beat a 24-hour game in 7 days. As a direct quote from Thunder Lotus themselves, Spiritfarer is a cozy management game about dying. You play as Stella, the new Spiritfarer, accompanied by your feline friend Daffodil. Your mission is to find lost spirits and care for them up until their last breath, and ultimately learn how to say goodbye to your friends. Along the way, you create memories and start to bond with these characters, giving them a sense of life. You'll have to do tasks for them, feed them, talk to them, and gain an understanding on who they are in order to progress. On the boat, you'll have to farm, fish, cook, build, smelt, crush, and a bunch of other activities to take care of the crew. As you explore the sea, you unlock more resources to work with, like some ore and new seeds to grow. The game never tries to stray away from being a management game, though. There aren't any side activities, no gameplay changes, nothing. No matter what you do, you're helping someone in some form, which may sound like a bad thing. 24 hours of nothing but grinding resources? While yes, this can get tedious at times, activities are fun to complete, and Thunder Lotus did something that saved me from boredom at the beginning. Spiritfarer might not be a platformer like Celeste or Mario, but they went the extra mile to make the movement fun instead of acceptable. The more people you recruit, the more opal you get. The more opal you get means the more moves you unlock. Aside from forcing a player to meet and interact with new spirits, more moves added to your moveset does almost nothing to enhance gameplay. You might unlock access to a new area or secrets, sure, but the feeling of double jumping and gliding around your ship gives the game that much more polish. You're encouraged to rearrange the buildings on your ship, because there are more rooftops to slide off of, and more ladders to jump off of. I'd often just jump around on my ship instead of doing work, because it was just so smooth and satisfying to build momentum and glide off of it. This is further assisted by how beautiful the animation is done in this game. Spiritfarer is entirely hand-animated, breathing life and curiosity into every single sprite you see. I'd often just sit there admiring how beautiful every frame in this game is, which is why when something doesn't feel right, it really stands out from the crowd. Things like picking fruit off a tree is just Stella leaning on a tree doing nothing, and other things like when you're done giving someone a hug. Sometimes both sprites just snap back into their original places. Aside from those very minor hiccups, the artwork in this game is jaw-dropping, and the lighting further develops the locations into what feel like real and lived-in places. Every task on your ship doesn't feel like work. It's always rewarding, fun, and engaging. This is further assisted by the animation again, but there's always a wide range of activities to do when you're bored. These activities could include smelting, looming, cooking, fishing, events. You're never bored while searching the seas. Things like growing crops are designed to be fun with things like the guitar, which speed up the growth of your crops when you need them the most, or smelting, which requires perfect timing in order to cook your metals at the correct temperature. If you fail, you have to restart. The only task that can feel bland at times is growing trees. Yes, you can speed up the process with your guitar, but you can't cut them down, forcing you to make multiple orchards or destroying your current one. Even at that, once your tree is fully grown after 2 to 3 minutes of playing the guitar, you can't speed up the process of growing the fruit themselves. You still have to wait for that process naturally. Luckily, you only need trees a few times, but it doesn't make it any less tedious. One thing I thought was cool is the reward you get for being kind to people on your ship. Not only do you get the satisfaction of just being a kind soul, but people do jobs like fixing each other's houses or playing music to make the crops grow faster. It's a great incentive to engage, interact, and be a part of their world, which is how they get you. There is such a wide range of characters that you will become attached to in some form and hate others. At first, I saw this as a negative. For example, Gustav is a very professional and artistic falcon. He's very exotic with what he likes and how he talks. Although Gustav has some pretty good quotes, I hated him as a character. He seems too professional and sometimes gets a bit snarky for me to like him. But other people love him for that, whereas Gwen, the first person you meet, is a super chill and laid-back deer who takes everything casually. She smokes a lot, helps Stella with the boat, and is very affectionate, implying she knew Stella before she was the Spiritfarer. While looking around some forums, I never saw anybody talk about Gwen, but to me, she was one of the most memorable and laid-back characters I've ever met in a video game. There's one feature in this game which honestly sold me on completing it, and that's the ability to hug people. I know, it sounds dumb that hugging an anthropomorphic deer is what got me so attached to these characters, but it's true. It cheers you up, it cheers them up, it's just an overall heartwarming addition. It's not the first game to have hugs in it, but they're made so whenever you want to engage with a character but can't talk to him, just give him a big ol' hug. They could decline your offer sometimes, but eventually you can hug each character. I always have a smile on my face when Gwen is just surprised and starts smiling, when Stanley runs and jumps into my arms. It builds these connections that keep these characters alive. Most characters I love have a good pacing. Gwen, Astrid, Stanley, they're all designed to not overplay their part. They don't repeat lines, they always have something interesting to tell me, which is why it breaks my heart that some characters are just there to be there. Atoll, one of my favorite characters, was locked behind a progression barrier. That's fine and all, but that progression barrier would have taken 5 hours of basic progression to get done. Even worse, he would repeat the same line every morning. He never had anything new to say, which is why when I got his request of pork chops, I figured he was done. Nope! Locked behind another 5-hour progression barrier. It sucks because I love him as a character. He's a super cool uncle who loves food and building things. So when he kept repeating the same line for the past 5 hours, I honestly felt happy that he was gone because him, as a character, wouldn't have been overplayed any longer. I know not all characters are like this. Very few are. But wow, that pacing felt way too repetitive, and got to the point where he became annoying whenever I saw his chat notification. Spiritfarer isn't a game about meeting people and living happily ever after. Every single friend you make will die in the end, and you know this going in. Eventually, their time comes, and you have to bring them to the Everdor, a place to send off spirits sort of as an afterlife where they become a constellation in the sky, which is why this game got me to cry. Seeing my favorite character's last lines about being gone forever got me choked up. It's an easy way to get someone to cry, I know, but I knew going into this game I would get super emotional. Gwen got me choked up, I had a couple of tears when Astrid was gone, and I was just full on crying for 5 minutes after Stanley was gone, bringing us back to the first quote in this video. When a character is ready to go, you aren't asking more about them. You're not asking for more dialogue. Sure, it's hard to see them go, but their character is perfectly played out. They would just be there to be there, and I think the pacing of when these characters leave versus how much they have said is perfectly in between understanding it as their time and wanting them to stay forever, which is what got me to cry, and most other players as well. Honestly, the worst and best part about this game is that every character goes away eventually. You were taught to cherish your time with each character, as well as learn how to say goodbye to them. But why, knowing all these characters could die anytime I'm done a quest, is it still impactful on me? Audio is the key to making anything feel a certain way. We've all seen those videos online of a very sad movie clip with some goofy music over it. Actually, let me just play some upbeat music over Gwen's death quickly. It's a very powerful trick a lot of people use. I'm using it right now and you might not have even noticed. Point is, it sets a mood and Spiritfarer knows this because of how brilliantly designed the audio is. This odd guy who sells weird seeds, he has some very odd music playing. A super hyper seal at this bus stop, he's got this crazy drum and trumpet going on. And finally, some really sad music playing as you say goodbye to your best friend. The way the animation, audio, and writing clash together is perfectly done throughout most of the game. A small little touch they did as well is that the entire game can be played in surround sound. At least there's a noticeable difference with surround sound stereo in my headphones. Aside from the music, the sound design itself is immaculately done. Big things like a bell to wake the ship up, to little footsteps or the double jump just sound so high quality and develop these worlds into real places. Not to mention how magical some of this stuff sounds. Like the Everlight Stella is constantly wearing just sounds like it fits perfectly into this breathing world. The voice acting, the entire game is read by dialogue, But the little grunts and sounds spirits make give them so much more character. Even little things like a Toll hitting his hands on his belly just sound so fun and playful. I'm not blown away by the sound design or anything. There are games that definitely have better sound design, but the quality of how everything sounds has to be a plus in some form. One thing this game didn't have to do is add multiplayer to the mix. Honestly, it feels more like a single player game than multiplayer, which it is. But the addition of making Daffodil a playable character is great. Daffodil can't do as much as Stella though. I mean, you can give hugs and run around, but the big stuff is left to player 1. At least in the short 15 minutes of it I played with my sister. Aside from her, I haven't played it with anybody yet, but I think just having someone next to you to hug or talk to when a character dies off would just be nice. The only question at hand when you want to play multiplayer is if you can even play the game on something like a Switch, because this game, from what I've experienced, isn't optimized the greatest. I played it on my Xbox One S as well as my gaming PC, which can run Half-Life Alyx just fine, so I thought a hand-animated game would be fine. Although I did drop frames here and there on PC, it wasn't too noticeable since I played at 144Hz and can't be seen in the footage. But on Xbox, this game would stutter in very specific areas. I think it's the rooftops or doors doing this, but when the game first released, I saw a lot of complaints on Reddit how the game ran on Switch. That we can put to the side for now since that's out of what I played on, but I'd like a little more polish on the optimization done in this game. I would have also liked some more polish on the bugs. They are frequent in this game, which disheartens me to say. I got soft locked during dialogue when my controller disconnected, I got stuck underneath my boat once, if you open any menus your momentum is lost. There are a whole lot of bugs in this game. I hate being mean to a game I genuinely enjoyed, but oh my god, please polish this up. If the game just released, sure. If they never updated the Game Pass version with these patches, please do. But my god, if it were here and there, that would be understandable, but my immersion is broken so much it gets infuriating. I'm just gonna move away from that topic because I'm honestly speechless. I don't have much else to say other than I want both things fixed. But one thing I do want to talk about is the map. It's filled with creative and engaging places to go. The progression system behind being able to travel isn't something shoehorned in like get this many keys to enter. Instead, you need to upgrade your boat to move through ice, rocks, and fog. It's smart. The only criticism I have towards the map is that I often needed a guide on where the places are. More often than I'd like to admit. It's easy at the beginning, but later in the game, I would need to look up the coordinates of where these places are. Honestly, this entire game is best played with some sort of guide. Like, how do I get gold? What upgrades do I get next? Where do I get chicken? Usually that would break my immersion in a game, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like the game was designed around studying instead of hands-on learning already, based on how the characters talk, so I never felt guilty on looking up where Oxbury was. Luckily, tasks are paced extremely well with learning on your own and looking up a guide. I never had a single quest for too long, except for a few times where the pacing of the characters was based on overall progression, and not on one-on-one progression. It would be things like getting sheep for Alice, or searching different locations to find stones for Summer. They're always fun, different, and unique enough so the game never steps over itself and repeats the same quest. One of my favorites was with Stanley. I was just as confused as Stella. What in the world is a Fakenhage? It sounds like some kind of cuss word in another language. I sat around for about half an hour just doing quests before I gave up. And it turns out it is a cuss word that YouTube or my audience won't let me say, so just imagine I'm his mother and I told him not to touch the egg. Spiritfarer itself is a great game. It's something memorable I can see myself replaying with others eventually. Characters are super unique from each other, the gameplay is genuinely fun, audio design is great, and it's the first game to make me fully break down and cry. Sure, there are some game-breaking bugs and a few little gripes I have with it, but if you can look past that all, you have a cozy and memorable game about death. To finish this first year, I want to give thanks to some people who have made my journey that much better, starting with the artists. If you're not interested, there will be a timestamp in the video and you can just skip it all. To any artists who haven't made fan art, I do want to say thank you for sharing your art and inspiring others on the server, and creating it into a little humble place for other artists. I love seeing what everybody makes every day. It really inspires me to create something just as good. A special thanks to Lollipop and Irish for these two pieces. I love seeing how creative you two are with your art every time you post something new. I want to give a shout out to Loki and eTrash for these two as well. If you'd like to go follow them, which I highly recommend you do, their Instagrams will be on screen now, as well as in the description of this video. They both make some really cool and unique art. And finally, I want to give a thanks to Andrew for commissioning these last two. All 3 Twitters are on screen, as well as in the description if you want to go follow them. Again, they'll make some really cool art, and Andrew's just a really fun guy I got to know, and although he's taking a break from them, his streams are just as fun, so I recommend you check them all out and give them a follow. To any fan art that was made after I wrote the script, I'm putting it here, and it's probably amazing as always. I also want to thank some other people as well, starting off with one of the biggest motivators for me, the team behind Glyph. They reached out to me asking if I wanted to review their game. I said yes, and as you might have heard, it is one of my favorite 3D platformers. The team was super kind and generous to me. I highly recommend you check out their game, not only in VR this time, but on Switch and soon to be desktop version of the Switch game. Their stuff will be in the description as well. Let's get the other oddball out as well. I want to thank Celeste for a whole lot of stuff. Without them, I wouldn't be playing indie games as often. I wouldn't have met the team behind Glyph. I wouldn't have even gotten a member at Stress Level 0 to watch one of my videos. I wouldn't have gotten a lot of stuff without Celeste. It's really neat to me that my favorite game of all time has impacted my personal life in such a big way. I want to give a big thanks to FBI, and as we call him, Caption Man, for keeping me motivated at the beginning of YouTube. FBI has been a great friend to me, and formed an active and supportive community, and I can't thank him enough. And Caption Man has helped me improve on my videos, as well as, you guessed it, did the captions on some of my earlier projects. If you're watching this, the server still misses you. They really helped me grow this channel into what it is. And thank you to my grandma who helped me create the one video where we played a bunch of Nintendo games. It really meant a lot to me you were willing to do this. And with the way I marketed it, a game developer most likely saw this and improved their own game to new players like her. I'd also like to thank my mom for helping me learn to be a better writer. I've learned a lot about how to structure my writing and really bring my emotions into life using words. And for the final 3 people, I do want to do this bit in person because you've all really made the biggest difference in either me or my channel. Thank you so much to my sister, Sparky Bees, for constantly helping me create Webster and making him feel like a living spider. He's such a cute little spider that I just want to give a big hug. Hopefully that'll happen one day with Webster plushies. I want to give a huge thanks to my trans female dad for helping me kickstart my channel and learn more about digital marketing. She's helped me learn a lot about analytics and a bunch of other nerd stuff. I really can't thank her enough for how much I've learned. And finally, I want to thank Andrew, someone I wasn't expecting to meet one night. He joined through a Celeste stream I did and we quickly became best friends. Him and I were both able to express ourselves around each other. Whether it was him finally embracing being a furry or me learning the definition of bi. We always just got along and supported each other. Which is why, at this very moment, I'm happy to say, I'm dating my best friend Andrew. And to all you guys at home, I want to give a special shout out to you for watching until the end and supporting me. I know everybody on the internet says this, and it always comes out shallow. So try to remember the last thing you were excited to show a friend. Multiply that by how many comments or views this video has. That's how happy you guys make me. Even if there's a little under 400 of you guys subscribed, which is considered small. This year's been a journey I wasn't expecting to happen. It's something memorable I feel like I will always remember. I met some of the coolest people this year and got some really fun experiences I would have never expected, even knowing I was doing YouTube. I wanted to do Spiritfarer as my big video because we've all dealt with some form of loss in 2020 and into 2021, and sometimes you just need to play a game and let it take you away. Which is why I can confidently tell you to bring 8 spirits to the Everdoor and finish this game. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait for my second year on the platform.